Hey, it's George Wooden from the Playbook, from the Fundraising Playbook. Everything you want to know, if you're good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to hear it all here. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on one of the most dynamic guys I know, Gary Bartels, out of Katy, Texas. Right, Gary?
That's
Katy,
right, brother. Yes, sir.
out of Katy, Texas. So Gary and I have known each other now coming up on 5 years. So
Yeah.
he's way down there in Texas. We've done a bunch of events together, and you talk about one of the most dynamic guys I've ever met in my life. That guy, Gary, he is the man. He is the executive director, the founder, the head bottle washer, president, you name it, of Oath Incorporated. Gary, welcome to the podcast.
Man, I am so honored and blessed to be here, George. Thank you for even considering me, brother. It's an honor.
You're welcome. So tell us and tell everybody watching, tell us about Oath.
So, OATH stands for Outdoor Association for True Heroes. And, George, you know this, man. This is a ministry that my wife and I started, Regina. And this is a ministry that was literally born out of my struggles with adapting to civilian life after my military service. Um, I didn't know it at the time, but when I left the military, man, I was struggling mightily with a lot of issues that a lot of our service members and first responders experience: anger, depression, lack of mission, lack of purpose, lack of camaraderie, solid camaraderie. I was missing all of that when I left the military, man.
I want to stop you. Tell us
Yes.
about your military. What did you do in the military? What's branch were you in, and what did you do?
Yeah, yeah. So I was an infantry officer in the Army. Did all the high speed, low drag schools. Airborne, air assault, Ranger School. Did 2 tours in Iraq. One as the platoon leader for the 101st Airborne Division in 2003.
Thank you for your service.
Oh man, I miss it every day. I miss it every day. And then I went back in 2005, 2006 as a team leader for what they call a SPIT team, which stands for Special Police Transition Team. And essentially, our team trained up the Iraqi police force to do tactical engagements with the enemy. So it was it was a bit of an oh, bro.
I've seen
Yeah.
some nightmares on TV. I've seen some nightmarish stuff, like how hard
Hey,
that was.
I tell you what, man. If we'd have had the technology back then to do stuff with our phones and record, I can make a whole video of training these guys, and this would be the theme song. You know this song. Dun, 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 dun. It was they were great guys and gals, but when it comes to tactical training, it was a challenge. It was an absolute challenge. So I did that and came back in 2006, and then my wife and I sat down and did a lot of prayer and a lot of decision making, and I decided to exit the military in 2008 and enter the civilian world. So yeah, and that's where I started having my problems, to be honest with you, in 2007. Um, Started abusing alcohol, man. Just became a form of a guy that I didn't really want to be, although I didn't know it at that time, George. So got out in 2008, and it just started going downhill for me there with the anger and the depression and the alcohol abuse and things like that. So uh, my wife and I, loving wife, we split up for a little while because of my issues, and I went to therapy and literally laid down on a couch and started talking to a therapist about my issues. And man, it helped me so much to talk about what I was going through, talk to someone in a non-judgmental way. She just listened to me and allowed me to tell what was going on inside of me, what I was feeling that I didn't even understand, bro.
Right.
So, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And I started healing my marriage and healing my family. And in a very simple fashion, my wife and I were talking around the kitchen table shortly thereafter. And I made a comment about how I can't be the only one that experiences this when they come back from combat or military service. And my wife, people see me, George, and I am the face of the Oath Ministry. I do speaking engagements. I'm the founder. I'm the executive director.
And you're
But
all
I
over.
tell,
You're all over. Yeah.
yes, sir. And I
Pocket.
tell, but I am very,
Oh,
very quick to tell people this: Oath was born from my loving wife. when
Mm.
she and I had that conversation in the kitchen about how I had healed and began my healing process, I made a comment to her about I can't be the only one that's going through this after their combat service or first responder.
Can I cut in on you a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah,
This is a little bit about my truth, and you and I have talked about this. So everybody knows my military services pales in comparison to what I did as a state trooper.
yeah,
Um, when I was a trooper, at the end, by the midway through the end of my career, probably
mm,
midway, I was angry. I was
yeah,
angry at the world, angry at everybody, everything.
yeah, man,
Um, um, uh, by the end of my career, I was a basket case,
yeah,
and when um, I retired, and I was just not myself anymore.
yeah,
So my wife and I, a lot of people do or do not know this. My wife and I did the exact same thing.
yeah,
We split up. We had a lot of problems. We've
yeah,
been now married over 31 years. You know, my son's
wonderful.
29 years old.
Mm,
We've been together a long time. For a police officer to be married that long is quite a task.
yeah,
So I was there. I was
yeah,
angry at the world. And,
yes,
and you know me. I'm
mm,
6'5", big guy. Like,
mm,
so the best thing that ever happened to me, my right hand to God,
mm,
when they said you need to go to the doctor and get on medication.
yeah,
Medication saved my life. It saved my marriage. It saved my relationship with my wife,
mm-hmm,
fun with myself.
yeah,
And the moment I got on medication, my business skyrocketed because my whole outlook on everything went through the roof. So
yeah.
I applaud you on that discovery and what you went through with your wife. So
Well, I appreciate it, man. That in like I say, I'm quick. I did a TikTok live last night, and I was very quick to tell those folks, I'm the face of the nonprofit ministry. Everybody sees me on social media, sees me, but the Oath Ministry was not my idea. My wife looked at me across that table, and she said, we're going to start a foundation. We're going to start a foundation to help other guys and gals that go through exactly what we're going through. So the Oath Ministry, as wonderful as it is, was my wife's idea. And as soon as she said it, I was like, wow, what a wonderful idea. And she's man, I've told you this before, bro. Yeah, I gave her every reason to pack 3 bags and 3 kids and leave me high and dry, bro. I gave her every reason to. I treated her so poorly, and she stuck it out and she hung around. And because of her, our family survived, and we're the strong unit that we are today. I tell everyone that it's not because of me; it's because of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, bro, and it's because of my wonderful, understanding, and loving wife. So here
shout
we
out to
are.
you, Regina. Shout out to you.
That's it. So here we are, bro, helping as many people as we can. I told him last night, George, do you realize, man? I know I've told you this. When we started the Oath Ministry back in 2013, our first operational year was 2014. And I don't even call them trips anymore, brother. I call them gatherings. I call them gatherings. We gather together and we fellowship. That first year, George, we did 7 gatherings in 2014. 7 gatherings.
For the first year.
And the first year, and I got home last night and I went down to the Oath lease and did some work, and I used it as an opportunity to hold some gatherings, some dinners and some lunches, and some work days out at the lease.
Let's
Got home.
I want to sidebar you because I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
You know what you're talking about, but they don't know what you're talking about when you talk about an oath lease and you're talking
yeah,
about gatherings and trips and everything else.
yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like what are you exactly you're referring to?
Yeah, so a gathering is, like I was just saying, we used to call it a trip, but I just felt like a trip was pretty impersonal. So now I call it a gathering. So, what Oath does is we take veterans, current service members, and first responders and their families on different gatherings to promote healing from post traumatic stress or just to help the family kind of decompress from things they're going through. So it's all centered around the outdoors, right? So we obviously do hunting and fishing, but we also do camping and hiking and horseback riding and kayaking, and we do cookouts and barbecues and picnics, and we do ball games, and we do 5Ks and 10Ks. We do all kinds of things that get people out of the house and off the couch and into a social environment so they can reintegrate and learn how to cope with the things they're facing. So it doesn't, yeah,
Important aspect of that too is to be around others who think like you, who've been through what
yes,
you've been through. That's
yes,
that. Look, as much as we talk about law enforcement
yeah,
through my world,
mm-hmm,
being around other cops and other cops' families who understand, especially guys who are undercover like me, who understand
yeah,
what we've been through. That's
yeah.
extremely important for healing. So
It absolutely is, man. Because I tell people, when you're sitting around a campfire at an oath gathering, and you begin to tell your story in whatever capacity you want to tell your story. If you want to go full tilt boogie and go into some details about what you experienced, that's great. But if you just start that conversation by saying, "Hey, my name is George Wooden. I was stationed in Afghanistan in 2004. I was stationed here at this fob." Chances are there's going to be somebody sitting around that campfire that says, "Hey, man, I was there at the same time. What barracks were you staying in?" And before you know it, bro, you're talking to somebody that understands you, can relate to you, and I bet can probably help you. So that's the beauty of the campfire, man. There's going to be somebody around there that's going through or has went through what you're going through. So it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I've been there. I've seen your success stories. I've seen
Mm,
success stories of the people you've helped. I've been in the room with them.
yeah,
Your events are gargantuan. You have a lot of love there, a lot of
yeah.
support there. Over the like, I just saw a TikTok you did because now you're mastering TikTok. Well, you and I
I'm
talked.
learning. I'm
You're
learning.
doing good. I like the other day you did this thing. You went like this, and you opened your hands up, and it was how many people you.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying, man. I'm trying.
speaking of which, do you remember that number? How many folks you've helped to date?
Oh, I was looking at it last night because we we completed our 60th gathering yesterday for
Jeez,
this year alone. We're gonna hit 200 gatherings this year, and
wow,
the number of heroes that we've directly impacted or supported is in the mid 3000s.
good lord, oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. And the families
yeah,
see, like, there's a ripple effect. A lot of people don't realize
yes,
it. The ripple
yes,
effect from the let's just say the father, right? Or
yeah,
they get settled, and then that ripple effect then goes out to the wife, the children, the
yeah.
family, the neighbors. So the what you're doing is incredible.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I call it legacy healing or generational healing, man, because if we can, 9 times out of 10, that combat veteran is a father, but it's not always a father. Sometimes it's the mother. We've got people within our organization where the mother was the one that was deployed, and people think that, oh well, she's a woman, she can't come back with issues and she can't get angry and depressed. Yes, yes, she can. I had a husband that I was working with that he just didn't know how to maneuver around his combat veteran wife because she was angry and depressed. So I used the same tactics with him that we use with the wives. And if we can catch that family unit early enough where the kids are still young, then if we can promote some healing and get that fellowship to a level where that impacted hero is actually looking forward to the fellowship and it starts feeding their soul and helping them heal from the inside out, then what you're doing is you're promoting generational healing in that young child or that young bride or that young husband, they start to see that healing and it starts to heal them as well so they can forgive, right? So they can forgive. And once the family starts forgiving because the hero is actually being proactive in their healing process, they can begin to forgive. And before you know it, man, I had this conversation with my son the other day. My oldest son, he runs college track at University of Texas, Dallas. And I we were having a bit of a conversation at a friend's house about my healing process, and my son was sitting at the end of the kitchen table, George, and I looked at him and I said, "You, out of all of my children," I said, "you probably remember how I was back then the most," because he was old enough to process the anger and process my drinking and process me throwing things in the house. He was old enough then, although he was still a young fella, he was old enough then to remember it. And because of me proactively going after my healing process, he has forgiven me, right? So he's forgiven me. So there's no longer that brick wall in between us, because the healing process encouraged his forgiving process, which is also part of the healing process. So yeah, to your point, man, if we can catch this hero early enough and get them to heal, then the forgiveness happens and that family is saved, man. That family is saved. There's generational healing there.
Well, I was just pointing. That's my son Georgie. Now he's as
Yeah.
bald as I am. He's very bald, right? That's him when he was younger, right?
Yeah.
So, and my wife over there, um,
Hmm.
uh, he, I subjected him and my wife to the exact same thing: anger,
Yeah.
right? Extreme anger that I couldn't control.
Yeah,
Couldn't touch.
man.
So while I was sitting here listening to you, I was thinking to myself, a lot of people don't understand this. The machismo or the macho or the masculine, the hardcore, like I'm going to go back to law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
Law enforcement or as a veteran,
Yeah.
that hardcore mentality that we all had, like we're the
Yeah.
man. I'm the man. You're going to follow what I do. You can tell me what I do. I'm going to tell you exist. I'm in charge, right? Breaking through that to the point where you, they can realize that, hey a minute, hey, hold on a minute, my life's screwed up.
Yeah.
Everything I'm doing, I know it's because inside your mind, you know what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
But that beast comes through, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That that oath, and that you can get through that masculine machismo beast to the point where you can speak directly to their heart, maybe through its prayer or
Yeah.
through through the Lord or whatever, whoever, or somebody like you saying, "Look, I was screwed up. You're screwed up. You don't get it. Let's talk."
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to do that and get this healing promoted and get it started, I can't applaud you enough. It's an incredible.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, brother. And what the great epiphany for me, man, centered around the oath ministry is the fact that it's about serving others, right? To your point, man, when I was an infantry officer, specifically my second deployment, when we walked into an Iraqi police station and we were there to train them, we had that subject matter expert, that machismo, we had that ego driven expertise that allowed us to tell them, we're in charge. We're going to train you. You're going to do what we tell you to do. There is no left or right movement on this. You're going to do exactly what we tell you to do, and we're going to help you succeed. Man, I know for me personally, I carried that mentality over into my civilian life, in that I would go into a meeting, and I couldn't see this back then, George, but I see it now. I would walk into a meeting and I still had that, talking to Susie over in accounting, or talking to Larry over in shipping, or talking to whomever, civilians, I still had that mentality of, hey, my name is Gary. I was an infantry officer in the Army, and we're going to do this today, and this is how we're going to do it, and you're going to do it because I said so. Man, that's not serving others. And I didn't see that then. I do now. I didn't see that the healthy way, the right way, the serving others way was to come into a meeting, because it's the civilian world now. You're not in the military. Is to come in and sit down at the table and say, hey, guys, this is the mission that we've been given. Let's toss ideas around the table on how we can do it together and do it better. What's your idea, Susie? Larry, what do you think? And man, I think it's not a shot across the bow at the military, brother, because in that time and that space, I needed to be like that. We needed to be like that as a fighting force.
Yeah.
But when we get out of the military, we're kind of held up inside that ego driven capacity from a mental standpoint, where we think that we're going to bring that over into the civilian world and we're going to make it work in the civilian world too. And sometimes it does. If you're working on a team that's all former military guys, then that would probably work. But if you're working in an environment where there's civilians who have no military background, how are you serving them by telling them that they're going to do this, telling them that they're going to do that? And then when it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, George, guess what happens then? You get angry, you get depressed, you don't know how to process it. You go home and you start throwing stuff at your house around your family because that's your outlet. So man, when we started to peel the layers of the onion back, bro, and show everybody that it's about serving others, every person matters. When you start serving others and taking consideration the feelings and the thoughts and the contributions of others, then you can actually heal, because man, this is a great way to maneuver. I don't have to tell people what I'm doing. I can get ideas and then put them all together and we come up with a viable solution. And man, I'm going to go home happy. So yeah, it's serving others. That's what it's about, serving others.
More on your point. Um, a lot of people. I mean, you and I have gone through some discussions, right?
Yeah.
You know my attitude. You know what kind of guy I am,
Hmm.
right? So I can't tell you in the beginning of my career as doing what I do now as a fundraiser,
Hmm.
um, how many times people would say, "God, you're so abrasive. God, you're so abrasive." You know, and I would then, exactly to your point, I would get angry. This is, by the
Yeah.
way, most people didn't know this. This is before I found help.
Yeah.
They didn't know it, right? So I was so used to being that commanding. You think about it, state trooper for 20 years,
Yeah.
undercover 10 and a half years,
Yeah.
where we were the funny thing that I always say is we were like either the second coming of Jesus or your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Normally we were your worst nightmare.
Hmm.
So nobody would ever come out and say, "Trooper, oh, here I baked you a fresh apple pie." No, no, never happens, right? Or when I was undercover, like when I eventually had to say, "Look, I'm an undercover police officer, and you're under
Hmm.
arrest." So I brought that anger welled up in me to the
Yeah.
point where over this 18, 19 years I've been doing it, I've had to learn. I've had to learn how to pack that back, how to
Hmm.
calm it down, and through medication, thank
Oh,
God, through medication, um, it's really, and a lot of spiritual
yeah.
digging into myself and talking to my wife, and I've had a lot to learn from that. So you're 100% correct, 100%.
Yeah. And I think it takes a very, sometimes it takes a very long time to get to that point. Like after the TikTok live last night, I had the wife of a veteran reach out to me through TikTok, and she just flat out told me in the message, man. She said, "What you just described about your family dynamic and about what you went through and about how you and your wife battled this." She said, "You just described our family as a T. Can you help my husband?"
Imagine how many
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of people are all going through this.
I
And
know. I know.
Gary, I remember I worked when I was at station headquarters Marine Corps when I was in the Marine Corps, and I would go over to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And I know you've seen this picture before. They have a painting called a Thousand-Yard Stare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It was from World War II. It was a soldier that was just looking out into the distance.
Yeah.
They then called that what? Shell shock.
Shell shock back then. Yeah.
Right. Well, now we know it as PTSD,
Yeah.
right? And that thousand-yard stare, I mean, you've had it, I've had it, we've all had it. Um, Recently, within the past day or so, we lost a young Maryland State Trooper to cancer, Chris.
Mm,
I want to take a moment, just if we could
mm,
take a moment of silence, and
absolutely.
Chris and his family are just passed, and so on behalf of Chris Tappan, let's just take a moment of silence. Chris, we remember you, my friend.
Amen.
You're
Never forgotten. Never forgotten.
So Chris passed, and he was battling cancer. Um, and it touched my heart because, as you know, I have cancer myself.
Yeah.
But I'm doing good.
Mhm.
Um, but what you're doing through Oath, through your ministry, with your wife, your children, because you're all involved. I mean,
We are. Yeah.
I've been in your house plenty of times. I've been around.
Mhm.
I've met your kids. I've met, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Here's the question I have for you: how are you
Yeah.
doing these gatherings, or your trips, or your hunting and your fishing trips, and
Mhm.
um, how are those funded? How do you fund that?
Well, a lot of it is funded through events like the gala. We have some merch that we sell online, but I will tell you, and you know this, George, the lion's share of the money that we use for a lot of these gatherings comes from events like we do with you, the gala. And it's we try to make every dollar go as far as it possibly can, man, because it's I say this time and time again, and it's not a cliche saying, brother. If someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'd really like to donate to your ministry, but I don't have a lot of money, so I can't donate," I tell them quickly, if you donate $10, if you donate $5, I can take a hero to lunch at Subway or Dairy Queen or somewhere and just have a conversation over a burger
Right.
or a sandwich. It doesn't have to be $100 donation. It doesn't have to be a $500 donation. $5 or $10 is a huge effort.
Okay, so let's put a plug in so people can support you. Where can they find out about your merch, and they can find you? And obviously you have a website, and your website
Mhm.
is,
www.oathinc.org, and that is spelled OATHINC.org.
and then through the social networks.
Yeah.
Where are you at on social?
We're on TikTok. We just recently started TikTok, engaging there, and that's been highly productive. I just got 3 notes last night on TikTok from folks that need help. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn. So we're active across pretty much all the social medias. So
Let's okay. Here's something else, and this is for everybody out there listening. You see the work that Gary and Oath is doing, because Oath is a lot bigger than Gary
yes,
and his
yes,
family. And I've met a
yes.
lot of the people that are involved. In fact, shout out to Lee Short, who's been his platinum
Uh,
sponsor for for years now, uh,
yeah.
donating a large amount of money to his gala every year. Um, and what's it, Clover?
Clover Tool, J.R. Russell and the guys at Clover Tool. I think this
Clover,
is their third year to be the ticket
yeah,
sponsor.
that sponsor, yeah.
Just another group of wonderful people.
Let's just say that there's somebody across the United States that says, because I know folks in all over the place. Let's just say somebody says, you know what, we'd like to get involved, but we're not in Texas. We're in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know a guy in Ohio, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching, let's just say they say, you know what, we're in Ohio, and we'd like to get involved. We'd like to become a part of Oath, but we're in
Yeah.
Ohio, or we're in Maryland, or we're in California. Is that a possibility?
Oh, it's absolutely, man. People ask me all the time, what are the biggest challenges with running the Oath Ministry? And I tell them, first and foremost, it's fundraising, because it takes dollars to run this big machine that does 200 gatherings a year. And you know this, the second biggest challenge is finding healthy, wholesome, integrity driven gatherings that we can do for these guys and gals. So I tell folks, if you live in Ohio and you're a landowner, or you know someone that's a landowner, maybe they could host a turkey hunting trip, or maybe they could host a fishing trip. You have a nice creek or river that runs through your property, or maybe you have some horses and you would like us to come up and do some horseback riding or camping or whatever. That's the second biggest challenge, George, is finding places to go with these guys and gals. So if you don't have the money, but you have property or a landowner or a
Yeah.
fishing guide,
Or you're an
and
outfitter.
yeah, an outfitter, and you're like, and it doesn't have to be. I get I get this all the time too. Hey man, I'm an outfitter, but I can't really donate a trophy animal. It doesn't have to be a trophy animal. It doesn't have to be your top tier fishing trip. It could be, hey man, I run a ranch in, Alabama, and we need to remove some white-tailed doe. Would you like to bring 3 veterans down and fill the freezer? We got a nice area where you can sit around the campfire and we can cook steaks. Would that be something that interests you? Absolutely, it would. It's anything and everything, man.
So what happens? Let's just say somebody says, "Well, can we support? Can we start an oath chapter? Are you open to that?"
Yeah, yeah, we've tried the chapter approach before, man, but I will tell you, I think I've told you this before. The thing with running an oath chapter is it takes a lot of time and effort, and we've went down that avenue of approach before with guys and gals, and they just, man, and it's not a shot across the bow with them. This is just the facts, right? They end up getting burnt out because it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort.
And yeah, absolutely.
It does.
And you also have to worry about um, the integrity of the people that you're working with, because,
Yes.
as you know, there's a lot of money that runs through a fundraising event, right?
Yes, absolutely. And not only that too, is I worry about I like to, before we put someone in that leadership role, and I've told you this, I like to get to know them. I like to spend time with them. So what I'll usually do is I'll invite them to an oath gathering that I'm leading, and I'll have them sit around the campfire because I want to see how they conduct themselves around others. Uh, I want to see, how they speak to other people. Are they focused on serving others, or are they focused on serving themselves? I wholeheartedly believe that around that campfire, battles are won or lost. So if I'm trying to do a Bible study, and this is just an example, if I'm trying to do a Bible study around a campfire and I've got a potential leader that's sitting three stools down from me that keeps dropping MFers and GDs, then I know that that person might not be the leader that I want to put in that role. You know, um, so I'm very strategic and purposeful when we interview and put people in leadership roles because I want them to understand as we contact and interact with these heroes, George, you could be the only example of positivity and winning that battle that hero sees that day. So you need to be on your best so that person can look at you and be like, yes, I can learn from this person. I can I can take the tools that they're throwing out and I can use them to heal my family.
Right.
So yeah, we're not against bringing people on to start new chapters in new states, but an in-depth process of making sure that person is the right person.
Yeah, we've talked about that at length.
Yeah.
So, so I know you've got a very busy schedule today.
Mm,
So, in summary,
hmm.
tell everybody that's listening or could be listening. Oh, give a shout out to your coffee. Let me see your coffee.
Oh yeah, Operator Coffee. Operator Coffee. So we partnered with Operator Coffee about 7 or 8 years ago, man. Casey and Sarah, they're just phenomenal, phenomenal people. And Casey's actually the one that has leveraged me into getting into TikTok. It was so funny because he sent me a note and said, "Hey, bro, I just need to talk to you about TikTok, and I need you to just listen to me." So shout out to Casey for getting me onto TikTok. I never thought that I would be telling someone.
Man, I'm gonna give me a little bit of props here. I remember a call. You were like, "Dude, where are you making these videos?"
Oh
And
yeah, CapCut. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, CapCut,
Yeah, yeah,
CapCut. Listen,
yeah,
you're putting some dynamic stuff out there, and like since I know your house, like the one the other day you were at the pool, right?
yeah,
I'm walking around, and I thought, God, I know exactly where he is right there. There's that pond with all them ducks.
yeah.
So
And man, what was crazy about TikTok is before I get back on Operator Coffee, the thing about TikTok is I was intimidated by it, man. I thought it was another social media that I just had to make a lot of videos. But man, there's such a presence there of people that need help.
yeah,
So it's huge, and we'll continue to do that. It's in again, Casey from Operator Coffee is the one that actually got me to leaning forward into being active in TikTok. And I remember when I asked you about those videos and I started looking around at TikTok, I told Regina, I was like, I don't think I could ever learn TikTok. That just looks way above my pay grade.
59-year-old man can do this, right?
Yeah.
with all
Yeah, so
you surely can do it as best as
yeah,
you are, as good as you are on the social networks. Good
so
lord,
we partnered with Operator Coffee about 7 or 8 years ago, man. And actually, I did not put this here on purpose. It's just sitting here because I opened the box last night. We partnered with them for this bag of coffee, Roast 22. And everybody knows what that 22 is in reference to. It's 22 veterans we lose every day on average that lose their battle with post traumatic stress. So they put our logo right there on the bag. So every bag that is purchased, a percentage of it goes back to our oath ministry. But from April 1st to the end of May, man, they're doing something very, very, very significant. As you know, I drive a truck across the nation taking these heroes on these gatherings. If I can drive, I'd rather drive. 99% of the time I drive these guys and gals to the gathering. I've driven I've driven heroes from Houston, Texas to Manitoba, Canada to go black bear hunting.
I know.
So I've got just shy of 350,000 miles on that oath truck. And this is not a cliche saying, and it's not a false statement. I have broken down in 12 states and 2 countries in that truck.
I know you have.
so,
Told me. You told.
so for the month of April and all the way through May, any item purchased off of the Operator Coffee website or through their TikTok affiliates, Operator Coffee is donating a portion of those proceeds to what they're calling a truck fund for Oath, because we're trying to get a new vehicle for Oath, because that thing, I was talking to my mechanic the other day. He's also a veteran. I was talking to him and he's like, bro, he's like, probably by the end of 2025 we're gonna have to drop a whole new engine in that truck. And
You're
I'm like,
you're starting to run out of bubble gum and duct tape.
oh, hey, yeah, I broke down in Canada, bro, and my radiator sprung a leak. I
I
found out what it
remember.
was.
I remember
And
that.
for anybody out there that's used to mom and pop fixes on vehicles, I stopped at a service station in Canada, and I found the pinhole, and I went inside and I bought like 3 or 4 jars of black pepper, and I poured it down in the radiator, and it clogged up the hole for a little while. But on the way home, all the way from north of North Dakota, just north of the Canadian line, I had to stop probably every 2 hours and put water in my radiator, because I duct tape and
Black pepper. You caught me off by surprise on that one. That's a
yeah, yeah. My uncle taught me that, man. You
that's
can
cool.
he taught me a lot of stuff that you can do with vehicles. That it's not a permanent fix, obviously, but it'll
Right.
help you
It's
get
just
from A to Z.
Z.
Yeah.
So
So
in summary, tell everybody about Oath. Tell them where they can find you,
yeah. So
how they can
Oath is
support you.
Absolutely. Oath is Outdoor Association for True Heroes, and it's a faith-based ministry that my wife Regina and I started in 2013, and we focus on taking veterans, current service members, first responders, and their families on different outdoor gatherings focused on healing from post-traumatic stress and things of that nature. Our website is www.oathinc.org. That's OATHINC.org. There's a donate button on there, but if anybody just wants to email me, my email is Gary, Gary, at oathinc.org. And yeah, get a hold of me any way you want. If you go to the website, there's a contact us button on there, and if you fill that out, it goes directly to my inbox. So when you're communicating with that website, it goes directly to me. So yeah,
Well,
Facebook is facebook.com/oath.org
Oath
is
or
the, yeah.
if I'm just searching one, I could just put Oath right in Facebook, right?
Yeah, it should pop up and you'll see our logo. It's got
Yep.
the American flag in the background with the deer and the soldier and the
Instagram, TikTok,
Instagram, TikTok,
all that.
LinkedIn, X. We're on all of it. We're on all of it.
Give a mention about your upcoming gala this June.
Man, I'm so excited. What year is this for us on the gala, George? Is this our fourth? It's our fourth year. And I tell you what, it gets bigger and better every year. I would like to tell people that it gets bigger with the fundraising that it does, which is absolutely true. But more importantly to me, and you know this, it gets bigger because of the awareness that we spread for the ministry. We have new people, different people in that room every year, and man, I can't tell you how many times after that gala or during that gala, people come up and shake my hand or hug my neck and be like, hey, I never even knew the Oath Ministry existed. I had a buddy that invited me to this, but I'm glad I came because I got a cousin that served in Iraq and he really needs your help. So we got a huge gala coming up, man, and I'm excited about it. We're starting to sell the tables. I need to get hot on that, but we're starting to fill tables. We've got spots for people to sponsor heroes because unfortunately, some of these heroes, 100% service connected disabled. Some of these guys and gals can't work, so they're on a fixed income, but they want to attend the gala. So we go out and we find sponsorships for them to attend. So if you're out there and you want to sponsor a hero and his or her spouse to attend the gala, then you can certainly do that. You can be part of the success story by sponsoring someone to attend and enjoy a night away from their family problems or whatever the case might be. And it's just a fun evening, man. It's a great evening.
So what's the date?
June 7th
At
at Safari Texas Ranch.
Yep, Safari, Texas
Yeah.
Ranch.
Yeah.
Incredible food,
Oh,
incredible
man.
time, great drinks, great fellowship. A lot of give tons and tons of prizes away.
Oh, my
It's
goodness, bro.
exciting. And the people that I've met there, Gary, I'm going to tell you, I've met some of the nicest people. I've got some of the coolest pictures ever
Oh,
from that
that's
place. We
cool,
always have
man.
a great time. So,
Yeah,
Gary,
you and your team, bro. I know you didn't want me to do this, but you and your team knock it out of the park every year, George. Every year. It's
thank you.
what I really enjoy about the gala, to be quite honest with you, man, and you told me this from year one, that you guys handle everything in the most professional manner, but it allows Regina and I to walk around the room and shake hands and talk to people and really hear, hey, how this ministry has helped my family, or hey, can you help my family? And you guys fill a huge gap for us, brother, and we thank you very, very much.
Thank you for that plug. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Bartels from Oath. Let's give him a round of applause. Please do me a favor. Go follow him. Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The TikTok videos are priceless.
I'm getting better.
You are. You're really good. I watch them every time I get an alert. In fact, my phone keeps going boop boop, and every time I get an alert and it's you, I always go watch it because I know you're doing something great. But we really, on behalf of every first responder and every veteran out there, Gary, I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you've done. And Regina, I hope you watch this because listen, I know you're the backbone, just
She
like
is.
just like
She is.
just like my wife is my backbone. You're the backbone.
Amen.
And
Amen, man.
I can't wait to talk to you, and I can't wait to come out there in June.
We'll see you soon, my brother. I love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Blessed to be here, brother.
This has been your fundraising playbook with my buddy Gary Bartels. See you next time. Bye-bye.